Hi there, I'm Cora. My drawings don't satisfy me enough and I am not sure how to improve. So I had the funny idea of restudying everything. And I'll also note down everything I learned in a Google Slide. Do you ever think that your art looks maybe a bit too flat? 3D forms and perspective is arguably one of the most important skills if you ask me at least. If you want to learn how to draw something, you can break it down into simpler shapes and then rebuild it. It kind of amazes me how many are willing to completely skip 3D forms. I remember someone saying something like, if you can't even make a simple geometric form look believable, how the fuck do you expect to draw literally anything else? And I thought that was a fair point. I guess if you strive for art that is more 2D expressive, 3D forms won't matter as much too. I want to learn it though. That's the important thing about this series. I'm just here to learn how to draw and I'm basically just sharing my notes. If you can draw circles, squares and triangles, you can draw. Make one circle, put another one to give it more depth, and you got a sphere. If you can draw 3 squares, you can draw a cube. A circle and a triangle, a cone. A circle and 2 lines, a cylinder. Congratulations, you now got 3D forms. We can rotate them, bend them, and carve them. I saw an exercise for rotating boxes and I wanted to try it out. My first attempt I wasn't really too happy with. It looked kinda rushed at the end, so I tried again. I liked my second attempt more, and I might try this exercise again at some point. I'll say that it's a great way to test out your 3D perception. A bit boring having to draw boxes over and over again. For bending forms, you can kinda just make 2 ends and connect them in some way. Maybe add a few lines to show depth. For carving, you draw a simple shape and then you carve it, basically. Like a pumpkin on Halloween. There you have it, the 3 important skills for drawing something 3-dimensional. How do we apply this to our art? This is basically what a lot of drawing is. You take something, you simplify it and deconstruct it into simple shapes, and then you manipulate the shapes into what you want it to look like. After that, you just start adding more and more details. After I studied a bit of shapes, I wanted to try out the box method.
This is a no-no for me. Okay? Within the human body, there's nothing that even closely resembles a box.
I agree with you, Sam. That ribcage over there, that doesn't look like a box. But you know what? I'll try it out anyways. I did 2 quick and rough sketches for 2 bodies. It's too stiff and it's an extra step is usually the main criticism of the box method. Here's the result, 1 without boxes and 1 with boxes. Trying it out for myself, I noticed a few things. The downside of the box method is that, yeah, it takes a bit more time. I wouldn't really say there's like a huge difference with the stiffness, but I didn't really draw a super dynamic pose. Then again, you can just do a gesture line for more fluidity and then construct around it, I guess. But what I like about using boxes is that they are really easy to understand. I personally think that they are easier to measure than something that is round, and I also think that it's easier to get a grasp of the perspective. Speaking of, now that you know how to draw boxes, do you know how to draw cool boxes? Perspective is a great way to add depth into your drawing. The parallel lines of this box just makes it look too flat and undynamic. Hi there, Editor Corey here. Almost forgot about this part. Not only is it flat and undynamic, but due to the way our eyes and perspective works, things will appear smaller when further away. If the lines are parallel, it looks like the box will appear the same size no matter how far away it is. Basically, parallel lines also makes it look unnatural. The horizon line. You probably know this line. It splits the sky and the terrain. And whenever an object gets closer to the line, it seems to disappear, or at least get smaller. The edges of the building seems to converge together into a single point. That's a vanishing point. You draw a horizon line and you put a vanishing point on the line itself. You can draw these contour lines. Think of it like an umbrella or a fan. You don't need to make your contour lines super visible. They are mainly just there to somewhat guide you towards the vanishing point. Now, draw a box, but this time make the edges of the box go along with the contour lines. And yeah, this is how you give your drawings the illusion of depth. You can also use contour lines to scale objects. If you draw two contour lines and a box, you use the contour lines to draw another box. These two boxes will technically have the same volume. Due to perspective, one is just further away. Congrats, you have learned basic perspective. You can also step it up and add even more vanishing points. Let's do 2-point perspective. If you add another vanishing point, think of it like an X and Y axis. The lines that converge towards vanishing point 1 is X, while the lines that go towards vanishing point 2 is Y. Once we add the third vanishing point will be placed either below or above the horizon line. Instead of just X and Y, there is now also a Z axis that goes down or up. Keep in mind that if you rotate something in perspective, the vanishing point's location will also change. In this quick drawing I made, the box is rotated along the Z axis and the two vanishing points has been moved. If we add a fourth vanishing point, we can make it bend, which turns it into a fisheye perspective. I'm not gonna get into it. I'm completely satisfied with 3-point perspective. If you want to learn how to do it, there's plenty of videos out there showcasing 4 and 5-point perspective. If you draw an X on a box, the middle of the X will be the middle of the box. This works for perspective as well. Now that you have the middle, you can now divide it equally. You can also do sort of like a star shape and split it into 3 equal parts. There is another method where you can divide the planes equally with any amount that you wish. You start off by drawing a line from a corner and draw some dots. Make sure that the distance between the dots is the same. You connect the bottom dot to the corner and then connect the rest of the dots. When you connect the rest of the dots, make sure that the lines you connect them with is parallel to the first line that you drew. And where the lines meet the box will be where you split the box. If you know how to do all of this, you will be able to draw a lot of stuff already. Let's test it out. I selected 3 items, a handgun, a hand, and also a bouquet of flowers. I deconstructed everything I saw into simple shapes to better understand it, and then I reconstructed it. It was a pretty fun exercise. I am pretty proud of the handgun and the flowers I made. Yeah, that was all I did during my first week of relearning how to draw. I then spent the next week making this video. I learned a few new things this week, and overall I think I've gotten a better understanding of 3D forms and 3D space. Some of the knowledge that I already had in the back of my head beforehand became a lot more clear, like this idea of deconstructing and reconstructing. The rest of the week I put everything I covered in the Google Slides. I also tried to use a box for foreshortening, but I think that's gonna have its own video. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching.